Those of you who've been following the channel a while will know that before giving a review, I prefer to let the hype train leave the station, especially on a product as contentious as Dunu's DK3001 Brain Dance, or Brain Damage depending on who you're listening to. They arrived at the same time as the Kima 2, a product I reviewed nearly 3 months ago, and in that time I've taken it on my travels, both at home and abroad, giving me ample opportunity to see whether it is genuinely worth its $499 price tag. And I'm so glad that I waited, because had I told you what I thought of them back when I received them 3 months ago, it would have been a very different story. Whilst the unboxing experience is unmistakably Dunu oozing quality, giving you a ton of very usable accessories, especially the ear tips with 4 different types, including a transparent set of S&S tips, the tips that usually do the trick for me. I don't usually have an IEM as thick and as bulky as the BD, mainly because most of the IEMs I use don't pack in 9 drivers. As you can see here, against their Falcon Ultra, the fit is going to be completely different. The Falcon Ultra is much slimmer with a more custom feel, whilst the nozzles are thinner and more targeted. With all of the supplied ear tips, regardless of which one I chose, I just couldn't get them to sit comfortably, and the lack of proper seal was also affecting the sound. But eventually I found a set of tips that completely transformed the experience. The Feula H570. The cushiony bit at the top that you can see here prevented that fatter nozzle from rubbing against the outside of my ear canal. They still look a little bit bulky, admittedly, but you're not losing any of that bass impact. And that's particularly important for a set that is tuned in the way that the Brain Dance are, with the emphasis very much on the sub bass and the mid bass thinning out quite a bit, as you can see on the graph, between 80 and 200 Hz. Whilst tip rolling and getting the fit right is elementary advice when it comes to IEMs, I can't overstate the importance of this, because the bass goes from being quite cold and analytical to snappy and tactile as soon as you can feel that sub bass rumble. Angel by Massive Attack and Hey Now by London Grammar are 2 tracks that I always use to test out the sub bass response on IEMs. And with both tracks I was absolutely blown away, even had a little shiver down my spine, because as of yet I haven't heard any other set of IEMs that capture that atmospheric nature of both tracks like the Brain Dance do. The slightly colder than usual nature to the tuning massively benefits this electronic style music, and it was the same with melodic techno and the Anjuna beat style sound, where crystalline vocals and really textured percussion melt mesmerizingly around a palpable sub bass. Bass is rounded, but it goes deep and hard. It's certainly more about rumble and texture than it is thump and slam. Vocals, female vocals in particular, have a real elegance. They're never too forward nor too set back. They just seem to find the right place in the mix. Instruments throughout the mid-range region have excellent transients and snappiness, but as you would expect, it's the trebles on this set that really stand out, shimmering and sparkling throughout. There's no shortage of air either, and the level of detail is exceptional. It's not by any means a safe treble tuning, but it does bring out so much micro detail in percussive elements. I'm hearing details here that I've never heard on any other set of IEMs. As you'll have seen and heard in other reviews, the Brain Dance are a strong technical performer, particularly adept in layering and separation. They have pinpoint imaging, and whilst in keeping with Dunu's previous releases, the staging isn't hugely expansive, it does have great depth and height. And it's to Dunu's credit that a set with such capable technical prowess, with what has widely been recognised as a dangerous tuning and an eclectic mix of drivers, still manages for the most part to sound quite natural. The complaints about planar timbre for me are a little bit overstated, only ever really showing themselves on rare occasions. So where have these brain damage criticisms come from? Well, the 2 main areas of contention are that leaner mid-bass, as we mentioned previously, and that extra sizzle in the trebles. But before we analyse each, I think it's better to just zoom out a little. As reviewers, sometimes I feel like we become a little bit too wedded to a preference curve. It means that we can sometimes make judgments about a product just by looking at the graph, and sometimes that tricks our ears a little bit as well. I've overlaid the measurement of the Brain Dance here against another 10 IEMs that I've just randomly picked that I've reviewed over the last 12 months. And not a single one of them has thinned out that mid bass in the way that the Brain Dance have. This heightens the perception of that extra presence and lift in the upper treble far more than it would, say, the SimGot EA500 or EA1000. Some people even thought that these sets had a little bit too much sizzle for them. But the difference is that these were far less technically capable sets. The thing that brought out the best in the Brain Dance, for me at least, was time and cleansing the palette a little. I got so used to that warmer, thicker sound with that extra mid bass, like on all those IEMs that I showed on the graphs previously, that initially all I could focus on was its absence. But over time I stopped looking for it and stopped expecting it, focusing on their strengths and enjoying them for what they were. And it was this adjustment that really brought out the magic in them. Now, as a bloke in my 40s who spent most of his 20s and 30s in very loud DJ booths, it's fair to say I'm probably not the most treble sensitive listener, and I'll admit that with certain genres such as rock and metal, even after that period of adjustment, the Brain Dance don't excite me as much as they do with acoustic and more ethereal types of electronic dance music. What Dunu have tried to do is go against the norm. And whether we look back on this move and judge it to be similar to something like Monet and Renoir, not universally liked artists in their day, but now widely regarded as founders of Impressionism, or like Pineapple on Pizza, embraced in the home of its invention in Canada, but even today largely ridiculed by those with more discerning palates, remains to be seen and truthfully will come down to personal preference. Now, if you want to ease yourself into this sonic revolution, as I mentioned previously, you need to get the tips right, but pairing it with the right source is really important too. I actually found I got more preferable results with SimGot's DEW4X than my go-to DAC, the Ibasso DC07 Pro. This warms and smooths out the sound ever so slightly, enough to prepare you for those monstrous technicalities. I've also seen others saying that they've used impedance adapters to good effect to try and boost the bass and make it a more V-shaped and energetic sound. So you've always got that as an option, but personally I felt like it was detracting too far from what Dunu was trying to portray here with the Brain Dance. Those that follow my channel know that my reviews tend to be centered around products more at the value end of the market, up to $150 and no more. And I accept many of you will be balking at the $400 price tag, plus potentially adding on a warmer sounding DAC if you don't have one, or even an impedance adapter. But the build quality on these is absolutely insane. I don't even want to think about how many times I've dropped them, and there isn't even a scratch or a scuff on them. And the same definitely can't be said when you're spending a lot less on products like the Nova or the Hexa, or anything from Moondrop or KZ or brands like that, where build quality and QC are fairly low down the list of priorities. You are getting very serviceable accessories like this case that will fit practically everything that you're going to need, including a DAC, and this superb quality cable that comes with the Q-Lock Mini adapter, so you can use it with a balance plug as well. And even though the Eartips gave me the best fit, I'm definitely going to use these other ones on other IEMs and TWS. But that's not what you're paying for here. It's the driver technology and the sound that Dunu are delivering. Having found the right tips, the right DAC to go with them, and given my ears that period of adjustment, I haven't picked up another set since. They may not quite be an end game, but for now at least, they're going to take some beating. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think of the Brain Dance in the comments section below. I'll see you very soon for a review of Moondrop's Edge.